here, you're going to see a flash when your order makes it onto the Hydra head of green over here.
Okay.
And you're going to see a flash of green over here. It's small. So
okay.
When it scoops, when the scooper scoops the order. So let me play. So I'm going to go ahead and enter 2 ADA.
Yeah.
I'm going to click swap. It's on the head and it's scooped. And so I'm spamming it.
And then like basically super low fee, right? You guys like.
Well, it's 0 fee.
Fucking block.
Now we'll probably have like a small fee on like when we production.
You guys gotta get paid too.
Well, not us, but the people who operate the heads, which won't be us.
Okay, so like an SPO could operate a head. That's fucking. That's crazy.
So we're still. I want to emphasize we're still a long way from productionizing it.
Yeah.
But this is kind of an important milestone in the research and development effort.
The fact that it's possible, because that's been the biggest problem with blockchain. The biggest problem is like slow, too high fees. Now you can put your fee in the head, and then all of a sudden now you can do these instant transactions. That's what everybody's. That was like the dream.
Yeah.
So wild. You just had me super excited about this.
Yeah. So I'll buy it again later today, and I'll show it to you live.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. I have a special guest with me, Pi Lanningham, joining me from the SundaeSwap team. We got to chat a little bit at the Rare Bloom event. Unfortunately, each time I came around to the booth, you were either with someone deeply engaged in discussion or the demo wasn't quite working yet. But here we are so we can chat about all the really cool things that SundaeSwap are doing, all the developments that you guys have done, and some of these really cool new features. So Pi, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on. I know we've been trying to get me on for a long time. So when we kept missing each other at Rare Bloom, I promised you'd be the first person I interviewed with because my inbox is pretty full with requests. So
I know you're always busy. And like I said, at the booth, you're literally one person after another like demoing this. And it's so cool. But one of the really amazing things that came out of the event was you guys released a version of the DEX that was running on Hydra. And this was quite amazing. Can you talk us through what Hydra is and what you guys did with it for the SundaeSwap DEX?
Yeah. So we were pretty excited to show that off. It's something we've been working on for about 5 months. So for those who don't know, or those who kind of only vaguely know, Hydra is a protocol, or I really like to think of it as a family of protocols for increasing scalability on Cardano. And so the basic idea is you lock up some funds in a smart contract on the layer 1 on Cardano. You do kind of whatever kind of accounting you want off-chain between two parties or more parties. And then you prove to the layer 1 what the final balance is, or what everybody agrees the final balance is. And so Hydra in particular, kind of as described in the research paper, provides what's called isomorphic execution. All that really means is that it uses all of the exact same rules and logic and execution engines that the Cardano layer 1 does. And this is really helpful because, for example, in our case, we took our smart contracts basically unmodified and just ran them on the Hydra node. We didn't have to write in a different programming language. We didn't have to, change much at all. And so, we've been working with the Hydra team and kind of internally to get that up and running. Back in June, I think, we got our smart contracts running for the first time on Hydra. I was talking to the Hydra team, and as far as either of us know, we are the first people to run smart contracts on Hydra in the world. So that was pretty exciting. And then we worked really hard on kind of wrapping it up in a really nice, presentable UI to kind of really give you that visceral experience of how fast Hydra can be. All that being said, it's a long ways from going to production. It's kind of it's a very centralized solution as is. Hydra is really great for you and me exchanging value, not really great for kind of a one-to-many relationship like a DEX. And so this is really one step on a journey to what we're calling Gummy Worm, which is our protocol for composing Hydra with a couple of other key elements to bring back that decentralization and the safety of those kind of funds held in custody for that fast swapping experience.
Okay, so you have to break down a couple of things for me here. So you said one to many or one to one. So it's not a one to many type of solution. And from what I understand, multiple people have to run these Hydra heads for the transactions to be passed through back and forth. So does this mean who would run a Hydra head to be able to pass transactions through? Who is this appropriate for? And how would that work in a real use case scenario?
Sure. So as I call it, stock Hydra, the basic idea is some number of entities, even just 1, 2, 5, 10, probably not many more than that, deposit their own funds into the head. And then as long as one of those people is honest, the final kind of unlocking and fan out of those results is something that everybody agreed on at least at one point in time, just based on the way that Hydra works. And so that really works great for, if you and I are playing a poker game, or because it's our own money, right? The worst that we can do is we both agree to run off with our own money, right? There's not really a risk there. Or, two banks or two large businesses transacting with each other very frequently throughout the day. And all of that activity doesn't need to go on layer one, because as long as I'm honest about my money can't get lost. Where it starts to break down, again, just in this stock Hydra case, is if I start submitting transactions that move funds into a wallet that I don't control, theoretically, it uses all the same ledger rules, all the same cryptography, all the same signing. So you can build a scenario like we did in this demo where the Hydra heads will accept transactions from other wallets, right? The ledger itself doesn't know whether the wallet is owned by the Hydra head or not. The problem is kind of in the naive implementation of that, for example, for a DEX, we send funds in, at your wallet and you're not one of the Hydra heads. Now, all of a sudden, the Hydra heads could collaborate and steal your funds, right? And do literally anything they want with them, in the sense that, the Hydra heads could pretend that the results of a smart contract were different than they actually executed, right? You can, evaporate liquidity pools and just deposit all the funds into a wallet and things like that. Because again, that bare metal stock Hydra is designed for that peer-to-peer use case. And so what we're working on, we don't want to throw away all of the really incredible kind of speed and infrastructure and execution environment that Hydra brings. And so we're working on, really it's like 3 different possible protocols that we're investigating, that will eventually be called Gummy Worm. That may be either one or a mixture of those 3 different protocols to keep that execution environment that Hydra provides, but bring back kind of a non-custodial nature where you don't have to trust that small pool of people with your funds. And so we're not really ready to kind of go into details about exactly how it's going to work, because we're still figuring that out in our kind of R&D. But that's kind of to give you an insight into the journey that we're on.
Wow. Okay. It's definitely a major step forward, and actually seeing it there at Rare Bloom with the demo was pretty exciting to see, and having the actual backend show the transactions go through as well, so you can see it in the logs and everything, was quite nice. And you actually sent me the link here. Should we have a quick look at it?
Sure.
And just see exactly how fast this is. So let me just share my screen. So this is the demo, and I've funded my wallet, and I'm just going to swap this with 5 ADA. So, okay, that looks good. I get some iBerries. I'll go commit swap. Bang, that was it. That's what took a second. Maybe I can smash the button again. There we go.
Here, I'll smash it a couple times on my side too.
Yeah, okay. Oh, right, and you can see the network order over there. Mm-hmm. Right. Wow, that is incredibly fast compared to what we're normally used to in the deck space at the moment. We have to wait 10,
For
20
sure, for
seconds to
sure.
see that
And
all flow through.
why don't you go ahead and click on the price in the banner up at the top there?
Yep.
Because this also shows kind of the real time feed of orders. And if you scroll up a bit, you should be able to see like a real time price chart.
Right. Okay. You
So
can see the price fluctuate as
yeah,
the orders
yeah,
go
and
through.
obviously there was like a long period where we stopped using it, but so it kind of just shows you as we kind of release videos about where we do load tests, the those real time price feeds that you're used to in a centralized exchange are going to kind of start to be more meaningful, right? Like a real time price feed for a DEX today doesn't make any sense because it's like one swap every so often, but that's kind of what we're trying to bring back into the space.
This type of really fast swapping is very applicable for bot trading. So, when bots are trading per second, per millisecond, going through and doing the arbitrage across, different ecosystems or whatever, this is the type of speed that you need to be able to do this. So this is another step forward towards that happening as well. Not that we want major price manipulation through bots or anything, but that's what a lot of TradeFi people are used to, being able to trade through different algorithms and stuff. So this is really exciting. This is absolutely amazing. But there's a whole bunch of other things that you guys have been working on. I looked at the interface briefly, and you've done lots of improvements there. Can you talk through what else you guys have been doing in regards to that?
Yeah. So it feels like I should have gone into a career in juggling, just because we've always got so many projects ongoing. But the three main things have been kind of Hydra, like you saw, a complete rebuild from the ground up of our UI. This allows us to accomplish a number of things. First and foremost, we got a lot of really great feedback that we want to incorporate into our UI. And because of kind of the speed at which we moved towards launch, our UI had some technical debt, and it was kind of difficult. We kept trying to build new features, and it was difficult to iterate. So we're kind of rebuilding that. We're also, as part of that, building out a Sundae SDK. And what this will be is a kind of JavaScript, TypeScript library that other projects can use to integrate with the SundaeSwap protocol. So that might be reading data off chain to understand kind of what transactions are happening and what orders have been listed, or building your own kind of swap, deposit, withdraw transactions. And so, I think that'll be really exciting for enriching the ecosystem kind of over time. And then finally, we've been working on governance. So we had our preview testnet vote where kind of we asked people to vote on their favorite ice cream flavor. And then that is a layer 2, kind of custom layer 2 solution where instead of having to publish every single vote on chain, we roll those votes up into a cryptographic commitment. So instead of spending 36,000 ADA in transaction fees for a large vote, you spend 64 ADA. So kind of very big cost savings to the end user there. And that 64 ADA is paid by kind of whoever's operating the vote, not the end user. So we're really excited about that. And as we were building that out, we thought, wow, this would be really great to offer to the Cardano community. So we're also offering that as a business-to-business kind of platform as a service solution for bringing governance into your own projects. So we've already signed with Endmaker and the Jail Cartel from the Disco Solaris NFT project. One thing that was announced today is we're also kind of supporting the Cardano Foundation in allowing you to vote on kind of nominees for speakers at the Cardano Summit. So they built the front end, but that is powered by our back end for kind of the on-chain commitment piece. So some really exciting developments there. And really that is going to bring kind of voice back into the equation for us and for a lot of projects where, projects can really get an accurate representation of the voice of their community for kind of the future of their project or their protocol. So we'll be launching our kind of mainnet version of that. Really, the kind of blocker there is we're kind of still sorting out from the legal end exactly kind of our constitution, so to speak. But once we finish that up, we'll be launching that on mainnet, and then community members will be able to propose and vote on proposals in the kind of Sundae protocol.
I'm looking so forward to all that, and I did see the governance announcement and the voting for the various speakers at the Luzon Cardano summit, and I saw all powered by SundaeSwap. So that was a really cool to see, like to wake up to that and have that in there as well. So and then coming into this interview, I was going to dig into that a little bit more, but I love the teasers that you guys did for the user interface and everything that you've done around it. So it does look a lot slicker, a little bit nicer as well. You improved on all the UI. And I haven't had a good play or look at the demo to understand the UX flow either. But I'm sure you went through and improved a lot of that from the feedback that you guys got, as you mentioned. So when is that going to be launched so I can have a play around with it?
Yeah, so SundaeSwap is a little bit allergic to timelines. I really think that
I can imagine, like after your launch, that major launch earlier this year, you would have been so stressed about it. It's like, let's forget timelines and just launch when you're happy.
Yeah, no, and leading up to when we didn't have a product, when we were nobodies, when we were not anonymous but effectively anonymous, there was a strong case to be made for us kind of presenting predicted timelines to the people. But I think that in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't accomplish anything, right? It doesn't change when something is going to get delivered. We're still going to deliver it either at that time or later or earlier. And all it does is create kind of the opportunity for friction with our community, right? You said this, and people aren't there in the day-to-day understanding kind of the nuance of how priorities change or how unexpected things come up. And so it just creates that opportunity for frustration without actually satisfying any need other than people's curiosity. And so I think it's really healthy for us as a company and for the Cardano space for us to instead try focusing on what we have accomplished and what we've delivered and talk about what we've actually built and show demos like we have been, rather than kind of trying to put a timeline on when we're launching. All that being said, I can talk about the order in which we're focusing on things, right?
Great.
So the first thing kind of prominently is governance. We're really keen on getting that out the door. Our next priority right after that is the ISO and RISO kind of faucet. This will be a way to claim your ISO and RISO rewards without paying kind of a drip drops fee. You'll still have to pay a Cardano transaction fee, but that'll be 0.18 ADA, not however much. I don't know how much drip drops charges these days. But after that is the new UI, so we'll be launching that, and then longer term we'll be looking at upgrades to the contracts themselves. And this kind of layer 2 scalability solutions.
Great. Okay. So I can see why you put those priorities in that order. Like having the governance there definitely helps engage the community. It brings in all the people that have been interacting with the DEX, have been a part of the community for sure. So that's a definite good approach. I was hoping that the UI would come in a little bit sooner, but I guess also a lot of people have been complaining and waiting for those ISO rewards, and having that in place and having a way to claim without having to pay those extra fees for small holders is really important too. So really good order approach, I should say, to go through all that. So can we talk a little bit more about the voting side of things? Now, I know Artem contacted me earlier on to have a little play around with the platform, but I'm so sorry I didn't get back to it. It was a really busy time and I didn't get a chance to play around with it. Like, how is that all built? You said it's like on an off-chain or side-chain side of solution. Why'd you go for that and not a full on-chain solution? And you also mentioned some fees around that. I don't understand how those fees come into place.
Sure. So I'm happy to explain all that. And so when I say it's kind of an L2 layer 2 off-chain solution, what I mean by that is that each individual vote is not recorded on chain. It's recorded off chain. Right now, that means it's in an S3 bucket and a DynamoDB table on our servers.
Okay.
In the long term, it means we'll roll that up and publish it on IPFS or Arweave or something along those lines. But with that kind of off-chain storage of votes, obviously we're here in blockchain where we are strong believers in decentralization, and so what we do publish on chain is a cryptographic commitment to the sum of those votes, so that if at the end of the vote anything has been changed, tampered with, added, new votes fabricated, votes removed, anything like that, people who download the data, digests, and go through and validate it all, which isn't every user. It's the kind of highly technical users or the people that we've partnered with to do so, will notice that change, and they'll be able to kind of throw up the alarms and say, hey, something funky is going on. Maybe there's a bug and maybe we shouldn't trust these results. Maybe Sundae got hacked. Maybe Sundae is malicious. Whatever the case may be, you'll be able to notice that change, which means that when you do reach a final kind of tally for a vote, you can have very high confidence that it wasn't tampered with in the middle. Now, one way to achieve that high confidence would be to publish every vote on chain. This is what kind of some of the other kind of people building in this space are doing. And before I say anything else, super excited with what everybody's building. I'm excited that kind of the Cardano community is going to have choice and options. So the fact that we built one solution doesn't mean I look down on or think that any of these other solutions are wrong or bad or anything. But one of the advantages of our solution is that you save dramatically across the whole kind of community on transaction fees. Because if I have 200,000 people voting and they all have to pay a 0.18 Cardano transaction fee, then that's 36,000 ADA that kind of gets paid in fees, right?
Yep, gotcha.
And several megabytes worth of data that gets dumped into the history of the blockchain. Whereas with ours, we do kind of an hourly heartbeat where we publish kind of this roll up, and that costs 0.18 ADA. So over the course of 15 days, that's roughly 64 ADA that we pay to publish that on chain, right? So dramatic cost savings for kind of that community, and that is going to drive up engagement and voter engagement, which is another really critical part of governance. So even just today with the launch of the Cardano Foundation stuff, I see people posting, I don't want to waste my ADA voting on, nominees for the speaker. And so it's the concept that they would have to spend ADA is deterring people. In this case, they don't. It's a totally free thing. We collect a signature from the wallet, but it's not an actual transaction. There's no fees. There's no nothing. And so that, the hypothesis is that drives up voting and saves money for everybody.
Cool. That is a very interesting, unique way of doing it. So thank you for explaining that, because the way that I was understanding it, you need to sign transaction every single vote and submit your ADA there. So, and I didn't realize people were deterred by it. But I guess in terms of people that don't have much ADA, they wouldn't want to give that ADA up just to participate in governance and voting in general. So this opens it up to a lot more communities, a lot more people in general. So nice, very nice approach. And I do like how there are many different approaches, like you said. So there's different ways of doing this, and people now do have choice. So we're seeing more and more of this roll out, and it's getting very exciting. So is there anything else that you guys are holding out on that you aren't telling me in regards to what you've been doing?
Always. But we've always got things stewing in the background. Nothing that we've have a demo that we're not showing or anything like that. So any of the other projects are kind of in the R&D stage, like ideas that we're toying with. A lot of those roll into when we upgrade the SundaeSwap smart contracts, kind of from the V1 smart contracts to the V2 smart contracts. And I want to make it very clear, we've got the the V2 of the UI that we're working on is purely a rewrite of the UI. The smart contracts won't change. That gives us a really big opportunity to kind of apply a lot of what we've learned about running a project on Cardano, and some clever new ideas about capital efficiency and DEXs in general to that V2 of the protocol. So we're working on some stuff there, but it's really just like pinning down the math, figuring out whether it's possible, things like that.
Okay, so this means that you won't be upgrading to like reference scripts and everything that was in Vassal for until you start working on V2 of all those scripts.
So that's actually one of the very early votes we plan to put to governance, because we could obviously take our existing scripts, make the minimal amount of changes to upgrade them to Pluto's V2, so we could take advantage of reference scripts. But every time we upgrade, it is potentially a very painful event for people. They have to withdraw their liquidity from the old protocol and then deposit it in the new protocol.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Uniswap V2 to Uniswap V3 migration, right? And so if our community wants us to do that twice, right? Once to get the reference scripts and then another time for all these cool new features that we're thinking of, then we'll do that, right? And so that's where it becomes really critical for us to have that community input and that community voice. If the community would instead prefer that we just batch it all into one, and maybe you wait a little bit longer for kind of these improvements, especially when the volume really isn't there in Cardano to really need some of these big improvements. Do you want to just wait longer and kind of do it all at once? So really, that's not a decision that I can make. And so that's why we want to kind of get the governance portal up so we can ask our community about that.
Yeah, your workflow timeline makes total sense. Okay, brilliant. Brilliant, Pi. This is quite an exciting future for SundaeSwap and everything that you guys are building. I absolutely love the protocol. I was there from day one trying to pimp you guys and get everyone excited about the ISO. My God, that was a very painful period for some of us stake pool operators, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm really excited about our future as well. I'm really excited more broadly about Cardano's future and all of the exciting projects that are building on Cardano.
So what do you think the future of Cardano DeFi is going to look like in 2023?
In 2023, I think it's going to be a picture of diversification of protocols. So we have a few really great protocols that have launched. Us, MinSwap, Ringriders, like kind of a number of DEXs, MuesliSwap, many more. I'm probably going to forget some. We've got a taste of lending with AdaLend or AADA. It's so hard to keep them all straight. I think 2023, we're going to see a Cambrian explosion of protocols, especially with the Vassal upgrade behind us. And then, so I think that's going to be really exciting. And then I think 2024 is going to be about kind of pushing innovation, right? Like we're in some sense still playing catch up with chains like Ethereum, right? They've had years to kind of solidify their development practices and their protocols. They're getting exciting kind of aggregator protocols and things like that. So I think as we catch up to them in 2023, 2024, we'll be able to start contributing to that bleeding edge of innovation from the DeFi protocol standpoint. I mean, and some of that is going to happen earlier, but just like from a industry-wide standpoint, I think that'll be really exciting.
All right, so we should be ready just before the next big Bitcoin halvening next bull run. Fingers crossed. All right, Pi, it's been a pleasure talking to you and finally getting this interview in place, learning a little bit more about SundaeSwap, everything that you guys are doing. Finally got some merch as well, so I'm pretty happy with that. Awesome, Pi. Thank you for joining me.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debating.